Yeah, so a while back I made a video about my concerns with DMZ from the beginning, and well, it aged like milk. I couldn't wrap my head around the flow of the game states, and then I was suddenly converted. I just started playing DMZ. Imagine that. Now I find myself only watching DMZ content for Call of Duty or just heading in there myself. So it's no surprise that the lack of acknowledgement about DMZ from Sledgehammer when discussing Modern Warfare 3 became concerning for those who enjoy the mode. Spoiler alert. Despite the DMZ hate rising on Twitter suddenly, my bad, X, DMZ is a wildly popular mode that even surprised the devs, so much so that the upcoming Zombies mode will include elements from DMZ according to the reports. So let's talk about what Sledgehammer did talk about with regards to Modern Warfare 3. Sledgehammer Games has a game to sell. That game is Modern Warfare 3. That's the focus of the Siege event. Though it was fun the first time, it is an in-game advertisement for the pre-orders. And that's important to keep in mind since the Warzone package, which DMZ is a part of, is free to play. Sledgehammer mentioned a return of the OG launch maps on day one, adding an open world zombies mode, buffs to the movement, new maps for ground war and invasion, and a massive map for war mode. 12 new 6v6 maps post-launch, new loadouts, and combat mechanics, as well as an evolution of the gunsmith, mini-map regression, and more. Combing through the data, Sledgehammer said nothing about Warzone, save that the changes to the movement and etc. will be present in that environment also. Now, as it was said on that one episode of Boondocks,
but I always say the absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence.
in other words, the future of DMZ is an unknown unknown. There were even enough people involved with DMZ to monetize a beta. Now, that's not to say it's safe, but what I am saying is that there's no incentive for Activision overall to drop the mode that has created an entire section of its own dedicated player base. So what Infinity Ward brought to life indeed has succeeded, but who will maintain it moving forward should be the premier question. Now, what's interesting is how many people on X are saying good riddance to DMZ as if it somehow hurt their beloved Warzone or multiplayer experience. The only issue Warzone had while being tied to DMZ was the looting system, which was already changed at the desire of the player base months ago. Hell, I'd love for the loot to just shoot out onto the ground in DMZ as well and save me from being shot in the back while doing inventory management. But yeah, you know, it's a non sequitur at this point. As for multiplayer, well, it seems they're saving the best for last, bringing back the old maps for Modern Warfare 3, which is what most people wanted with Modern Warfare 2 anyway. The fact of the matter is, DMZ has been good for the franchise, and they have no reason to leave it by the wayside. For other companies to pick up on a star's player base and take away some of the DMZ players now that they've had the extraction experience. The most important piece of any info concerning DMZ comes from a tweet, and that's Dalek JD, which Sledgehammer essentially is ghosting the question when asked about DMZ, stating that they aren't discussing its future at this time. And I'm not surprised. It isn't an admission of cutting DMZ, rather only focusing on selling Modern Warfare 3. Nothing in the last blog update even mentions Warzone, which last I checked is home to DMZ, not the Call of Duty multiplayer experience. For those wondering about having two extraction modes or a lot of PvE, co-op and raids exist right now. Activision isn't shy of content loading. By the way, anyone wants to run some co-op, I'm plugging the Discord right here. Check out the link in the description. So with some new games coming up like Marathon and even X Defiant for the multiplayer aspect around the corner, I don't think Activision are interested in caving to competition in a similar space. They need every option they have at their disposal for retention. But here's what's really interesting. Activision is just using all of this conversation as marketing. It's sus, but articles and videos like this one are being made around the game, adding to the hype train. It is what it is. And at the end of the day, we're left to wonder how things will play out until we specifically hear about all the changes happening to Warzone. Fundamentally, nothing appears to make it necessary to ditch DMZ, a mode that Infinity Ward stated they'd been working on since 2019. All of these modes can exist on these chalk servers. That's been the case for years. What we really want to know is, will DMZ continue to be supported into the life cycle of Modern Warfare 3? Will the new firearms be usable in DMZ? Will new maps get introduced? Will there be more missions? Will there be improvements to the barter system and extraction content? Will it remain in beta? Or are we just stuck with the game mode and no updated content like Caldera and Warzone? So So what do we do in the meantime? We keep putting in the work on DMZ, having fun with its randomness along the way. If it's really on the chopping block, what can anyone do? These decisions are made ahead of time, but there's nothing denoting thus far that it's all over. Now more than ever, just hop into DMZ and start enjoying what's already been offered. As for the channel, if you're into DMZ, consider sticking around here as I have several videos in the works and we'll be streaming some of that gameplay over on Kick. We've got a nice twist to the DMZ gameplay on this channel. Thank you for making it this far into the video. This is Agent R peacing out, and as always, prove your meta.